Hey everybody, it's the Last Robo Kai here, and I'm joined by Cool Guy, and we're off to our next region.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder.
石田方も西国の調略を進めておるようだが、分があるのは吉川、小早川を調略したこちら。ウィリアム、大阪は華やかな町。お主にぜひ見せたいと思っておった。帝のおわす今日にも近い。ついに大阪で家康様にお目通りが叶うぞ。面を上げ。
霊が見え、怪異を切るというのはまことか。君子、怪力乱心を語らずじゃ。花からそのようなことを口にする者に信を受けようか。
This one has absolutely no power. Anzo, do you seriously follow this pretentious little prick?
何を言うておる。
鳥居殿、その者は影武者だと言うておりまする。
こやつはもっと名護を話しておったであろう。それに半蔵、そこもとが事前に話しておったのではないか。何がおかしいじゃ。
まあ鳥居殿、半蔵殿の推挙もあることですし、全く口頭無形と切って捨てるもいかがなものかと。拙者に一思案があり申す。
So we've got to meet a few more of the retainers of Ieyasu.
I've always loved that one. I somehow think he said much more than that.
He was very on point with that. Okay, so basically to explain what's happened here is I have done the two missions that precede this one, but because then there's like a small mission that happens afterwards, it was kind of sitting out alone by itself, so I decided I would put all the side missions together in one video. So we've done a little bit more, and now we're actually doing the main one, and it's Shigesan Castle.
I have memories of this place.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a phobia of spiders, please turn off the video immediately.
Yeah, like come back next time.
there are spiders throughout the game, you know, here and there and everywhere. This is, however, is the largest concentration of spiders you will see.
And the creepiest, and absolutely the creepiest too.
Yeah, it's quite the meeting place. Oh,
just
I'm gonna change
pray
my guardian
forever.
spirit.
It's fine.
When in doubt, pay Dryken.
Double doggo. We saw Fire Tiger in there. So.
No, Fire Tiger. No, I wouldn't have Fire Tiger yet. Fire Tiger is not available until after the next main mission.
I meant I mentioned the cutscene. God, I still love the Odachi's moveset. It flows together so delightfully.
Yeah, I was looking around for builds and everyone was talking about how weak it is, and it's like, really? Because it's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
Like...
I think people on the internet are less experts than they realize. Whereas I'm the correct one.
What you mean that Dunning-Kruger syndrome is real? Huh? Weird.
I don't know. I think people just say it, and then someone else goes, "Okay, I believe that," and then perpetuate it to the heat death of the universe.
This is how memes do.
Yeah. So one wonderful feature of this castle is spider webs. They will slow you down when you walk in them. And another feature are spider eggs. Every third one, and that might sound really weird, but it is literally every third one, just about, that you break will have a tiny spider in it, and they're jerks. Because you can only really hit them with low attacks.
Yeah, the tiny spiders are jerks for the same reason the Oni are. Just frickin' are they that dangerous? No, but are they irritating as hell? Holy balls, you bet they are.
And then we've got the medium-sized spiders, which are more like the size of dogs.
Yeah. Somehow less irritating. Oh, buddy.
Yes. This particular castle has quite a story to it.
Big H history.
It is probably one of the craziest stories of absolute villainy you will find in the Sengoku era. It's like,
don't keep us in suspense, bro.
It's hard to know where to start with this particular one, but it was owned by the Matsunaga clan. And the Matsunaga clan were, you know, they were a pretty nice, normal clan. And then they kind of made the mistake of letting a fellow named Hisahide in. And the thing about Hisahide is he's commonly referred to as the greatest villain of the Sengoku era. And the reason why he's called that is because he did three great villainous acts, and basically got away with them. He assassinated the Shogun of the era, which didn't help matters in like the keeping the peace and everything like that. He overthrew the clan he was a part of, and in doing so, like, basically the previous guy died, and hello Spider. The previous guy died, and and I'm just going to take a moment to pause because we've got another version of the spider coming up, and it's an important feature of this game.
Oh, fuck that thing.
Yeah, around the place you will find these big sort of weird blockages on places and things like that. Sometimes it'll block your way, sometimes it won't. Inside is an extremely large spider. Very much similar in the movesets to the other ones. It's got a pounce, it's got a grab. It will try to slow you. It's very nimble, probably more nimble than the other ones. And if you can hit it on its abdomen, it will stun it. That inflicts the slow on you, which is really bad. And defeating each one of these in the level will give you the fragment of an item, which is an important part of the story of Hisahide Matsunaga. So, as you can see, we've just gotten our first Joro-Gumo fragment. Okay, so continuing the story of Hisahide Matsunaga, the new heir, the adopted heir, was too young to rule, so 3 generals were his guardians and sort of shared the power. He killed all 3 of them by essentially burning them alive in a temple that they had holed up in when he had basically betrayed them. Which was also a temple famous for its extremely large Buddha, which was statue, which was destroyed in the process, from what I'm aware of.
Yep, that is what I've been told as well. Which made this particular act not only traitorous but also sacrilegious.
And he didn't give a fuck.
Did not give a fuck.
And so,
thug life.
Like to call this man inscrutable is yeah. It's an understatement. No one really knows why he did the things he did. Because the thing is that a lot of these actions were also tempered by really weird behaviors, such as the temple had an adjoining tea room, and Hisahide Matsunaga was a fervent fan of Japanese tea ceremonies, and so he made sure that all of the relics that were in the adjacent tea room to the temple were very carefully taken away before the temple was burned down. And because he was such a very interesting villain, Oda Nobunaga apparently asked him to join forces, and for a while it was okay, and then apparently he just decided, oh, you know what, fuck you, I'm rebelling. Again, no one's really sure why. It is said that Oda Nobunaga made one of his demands that he often does that like angers people. There's a boulder up there with a big fella behind it, so I'm just gonna hit the boulder with an arrow and make it come down prematurely. And so like Oda Nobunaga asked for the Hiragami, the teapot, because it was basically the most treasured thing that Hisahide owned, and he was like, "Fuck you, rebellion."
My teapot.
And when Oda Nobunaga waged the siege of this castle, which is apparently one of the bloodiest sieges in the Sengoku era, he rather than allow himself to be captured and his teapot to be taken, he blew himself up along with it. And that's why its pieces are now scattered throughout this level. Because he blew himself up and the pieces went flying everywhere. Like,
the psychological study of this guy is really, really interesting. Like I've read a couple of attempts at it, and you know, basically everybody can agree that he was unhinged on some level or another, but nobody can really agree what precisely what diagnosis even makes sense. Simply because so much of his behavior was so separated out. If you have some sort, usually if you have some sort of compulsion or idiosyncrasy like that, it shows up at very specific or under very specific circumstances in your life, and you know the frequency of the episodes is largely dependent upon how well you can avoid that trigger, and the thing is, nobody's been able to figure out what the hell this guy's trigger was. Like, everybody's just...
Like I said, inscrutable is the only way you can describe this man. He was the greatest villain of the Sengoku era. Like, it's just...
He was a force of chaotic nature, and there's no other way to properly describe it.
And that may just be what he wished to do.
Like the most interesting idea to me is the idea that he really was just like the Sengoku era's thug in life, in that he was completely lucid of what he was doing and just didn't give a fuck about anybody and wanted to do bad things to hurt people sometimes, you know, like because that level of dedicated. I don't even know if one can call it selfishness properly, simply because so many of his antics were so deeply self-destructive.
Villainy. There's no other word to describe what he was doing. It's just straight up comic book villainy.
He was an IRL Starscream.
He was... like, he had to have known rebelling against Oda Nobunaga was going to end precisely like the way it did. So it's impossible to tell why he chose to do it. Like, maybe like suicide by army and taking an entire clan with him just seems like that seems bizarre too. It's just like you can't fathom this guy. Like, and the story of this castle is inextricably linked to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we've got all these spiders around, because I can only imagine the thoughts and feelings of all the people who served under him, as he basically led the entire clan down this road of destruction, ultimately leading to this. And so the spiders are representative in no small way to the connections that are, you know, made of many people in anger and sorrow, regret, duty, just this tangled web of feelings that are left lingering. And that's it's just like that's I was like I can't wait to talk about this guy, but at the same time,
he sort of
how
defies
do we talk
words
about this guy.
Yeah, like I mean, it's amazing to talk about him. You can actually get the words out. I mean, you've done a much better job with it than I would have in that situation, buddy. But and also, yeah, that was definitely the one of the better uses of living weapon I've seen in this LP so far.
There's a little one. Oh, I've been slowed. That's fine.
You had like 5% health left, by the way. Yeah, there you go. You still have it.
じものが見えながらうぬの目に映るはただの白く。
Yeah, see, even the phrases we are getting of the remains of Matsunaga Hisahide are strange and opaque, where he talks about things like seeing the same value in things as me. You know, obviously he's talking to Oda Nobunaga, because this level and the next two major mission levels are Odunaga's greatest hits, basically. Like there's no other way to describe it. That
is exactly the way I would describe it.
You would think, oh yeah, this is we're going to be taking a tour of Tokugawa Ieyasu stuff, because obviously we were supposed to get there, but we meet his double, and then we basically go straight into learning what the fuck Oda Nobunaga had done when he was in charge.
Tokugawa actually did have a double, by the way. Like that's not made up.
Yeah, it's quite a popular piece of fiction, actually. There are like a million different there are a million different stories of points in the Sengoku era when the real Tokugawa Ieyasu was killed and the imposter took over. There's no small number of those particular stories. Some place it around this time, some place it at Sekigahara, some place it at Osaka. There's no. It's fairly safe to say it didn't happen. Basically.
Yeah, like the thing about all of the reports of Ieyasu's death is that they were all basically scuttlebutt. You know, some ninja story or something like that, or a geisha story, right? Like, oh yeah, no, this one geisha was totally a spy and poisoned his wine or something like that. No way to actually confirm it outside of the scuttlebutt. And, you know, maybe you find the spy that ostensibly said that they killed him. But if they were anything resembling a good spy, they weren't talking about it. What are you insane? His people are still in charge, you know. So there's no way to actually verify whether or not that ever happened, and assassinations were really quite difficult to pull off. Not just during this period, but in general. Like only nobles had a very good idea that yes, people were gunning for them, and they had routines that resisted casual intrusion like that. And they also generally had stewards that were just like, hey, you know what the best way is to make sure you don't get assassinated? Pay all these motherfuckers well enough so that when somebody tries to bribe them, they're just like, nah, I'm not putting this on the line. You know, it's actually pretty straightforward. So overall, like the historical probability of all of this sort of thing is really very low. Lady transporter, okay, sure.
Died an unnatural death, which obviously, when we talk about assassinations, makes Matsunaga Hisahide managing to kill a shogun.
Yeah.
Is just like, and considering as well that the shogun of the time, Ashikaga Yoshiteru, was God. How's the best way to put this? He was a master swordsman, able to defend himself very well, but they managed to invade his palace, and he committed suicide. So it's hard to say whether or not he committed suicide before they got to him, but they still managed to, get to him, which is, like.
There's a reason those sorts of stories are so dramatized in everything from historical fiction to fucking Game of Thrones. You know, I mean, in Game of Thrones, what happened to the one confirmed royal assassin in there? He got the nickname Kingslayer, and nobody ever let him forget it. Why? Because that crap just doesn't happen.
It's impressive, to say the least. But it's also you know, it's like it's considered one of Hisahide's great sins: betraying his master, slaying a shogun, and the destruction of the Great Buddha. Look at that. I talk about how powerful that 2-hit strike is.
Man, like I thought you were about to get dope slapped for sure, and then that blade flashes right up, and whoops, there goes his horns.
Yep, I'm going to get what is hands down my favorite Odachi move, and it absolutely just wrecks Yoki. I love it. It's like one of my favorite moves in the entire game, and it's the reason why I love the Odachi so much. Bombs.
Throwing bombs, why not?
Yeah, the spiders aren't difficult enemies, at least not the medium-sized and the little ones. They the worst thing you can get from the medium-sized ones is when they're up on the ceiling, as you saw while we were having assassin chat.
Right.
They can drop down, land on you, and most of the time that will either insta-kill you or take you pretty close, so try to avoid that.
Yeah, for Dark Souls veterans,
Always
it's
be
like
looking
getting
up.
Yeah, it's like getting head crabbed by a slime. You know, if you don't die instantly from that, you're probably gonna wish you did.
Such a lovely castle too. You can sort of see it was a space, like they've done a really good job designing a space that looked like it was lived in. Mm-hmm. Like this particular place, a lovely little garden there, and yet at the same time everything's kind of ruined. So very much got a good thing on the Japanese aesthetic.
Yeah, that is worth pointing out, is that for a lot of these castle designs, since they were very much the overall siege mentality in Japan was very much more that you had to storm the castle and take it, rather than to breach it or starve them out in a siege, like it frequently was in European circles. A lot of that had to do with how developed Japan as a whole already was. So basically, there wasn't really a whole lot of opportunity to build up your own area and get more castles and more towns and more temples that way. Things were already pretty built up by the time the Sengoku and Sekigahara eras were happening. So frequently it was almost mercantilistic. If you wanted more power, more land, and more wealth, you needed to take it from somebody else. And if that was your plan, then it didn't make a ton of sense to shell the crap out of a castle and batter it into submission, which is, you know, what a lot of European powers did routinely with once they figured out catapults and trebuchet and all of that sort of stuff. So, you know, I mean, if you're looking at this sort of thing, you're just like, hey, where's all of the crazy spiral staircases with that mess with right-handed people as they're trying to ascend, or the massive stoneworks? It's just like they're not really a thing because they weren't really needed. That wasn't the culture. It's really very interesting to talk about that in terms of how both civilizations reacted in an incredibly logical way to their surroundings, and it just came something totally 100% different came of it.
I have to headbutt all the dividers. I gotta do it.
I mean, one of the things about what I was just talking about is that since you wanted to take these places, open office plans were much more of a thing than they were in European castles. Also, I hate this place.
Yep, welcome to Spider Hell.
Thanks, I hate
This is where they're all hanging out, really. This can be where the spiders can be tricky, but we're gonna navigate it pretty well. Certainly helps we had a nice dip in the hot spring on our way in.
Good ass hot springs, man. Good ass hot springs.
Yeah, bring lots of arrows. Or if you're a ninja, bring lots of shuriken. Shuriken are very handy in this level, because you've basically got something that like can regenerate at shrines that you just use to flick at them.
Shinobi
Right, you get
box.
Shinobi boxes,
Yeah,
which will restore them as well if you need them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, doesn't that restore ninja stuff without having to hit a okay, without having to hit a shrine? Like I disagree on whether or not that bomb actually hit that guy, but his reaction was funny enough that I'm going to allow it.
The explosion got him. That's good enough for me.
Good, yeah.
Okay,
fine,
so this
whatever.
room can be a bit tricky. We're actually going to talk about the game now, rather than just talking about cool historical things. So I'm sure everyone liked that. If you're wondering why that didn't hit, apparently that thing's vertical space is actually really narrow because it was higher on a platform than it.
Sure, why not?
That didn't affect it. There is a very large fragment spider hanging out over there, so you have to be very careful that you don't aggro him while you're trying to deal with everything else, because you'll end up moving around a lot. It'll probably break a lot of eggs, and a lot of little guys will come out, and then stop it.
Then that will happen while you're trying to dodge the big guy.
Yeah, and there are still plenty of ceiling spiders around that will get aggroed as well and come running. So just be real careful.
Ceiling Spider sounds like a great grunge band name. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. If somebody watching this wants to use that, please feel free to. I would love to eventually buy a CD from Ceiling Spider.
I'm genuinely shocked it isn't the thing already. I think I got impatient. See, you hit him on the butt, that robs them of their power.
Good. Now
there is actually a purpose to trying to find all the fragments, and you get a bit of lore basically for your trouble. And the only problem there is that you don't get the lore unless you also get the achievement at the same time, because there's an achievement for finding all the fragments. And for whatever reason, it's directly tied to the achievement. So subsequent playthroughs of the level with different characters won't trigger it, so you won't get that lore entry on that particular character. You'll only ever get it on your main unless you do something like reset all your achievements.
Who would
Kinda
ever do a thing like that? Stares across a table.
I haven't done it.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm keeping my. I haven't 100% this game yet. There's still a few things I need to do, and
honestly, I completely expected you to just Taro Yoko your shit before you started this game.
I mean, I could have, but at the same time, like, doesn't really feel that necessary. Like, no one would see the pop-ups anyway.
Especially when the effect of the lore is 100% clear, and I mean, the cutscene you get is not very illuminating at all. Like, I've seen it.
Well, the lore entry it gives you in the character memory section, stuff like that, I can just pull up for the thread from my main save anyway, which is still there. So hey. Yeah, for the longest time I was like, how am I continually fucking this up? How come I'm not finding everything? And then I looked online and someone was like, yeah, it's a bug. Also, are you ready for something to go horribly, horribly wrong?
Oh,
yeah.
God damn it.
There's a ladder you're supposed to kick down there, and I just dodged myself off the platform.
I'm pretty sure I did exactly the same thing when we were streaming.
Yeah, so let's just cut all of that backtracking out.
Yeah. Thank you, merciful Let's Player. Because that was about.
Like, I've done
that
a few times already, but the journey has been quick. That one was not a short journey. That was going all the way back around again. I'm gonna get the thing.
I mean, you shot a dude in the head.
This general area is that general area is completely optional, unless you want to get yourself all the sweet fragments.
Why would you not?
Yeah, get all the fragments. It's worth it.
Deaf. Most deaf. Shut up, bird!
You can see you can actually see this particular enemy from, I didn't think that was actually going to do that, but, you can actually see this boss, this particular bunch of enemies pretty much from the entryway. That was, like, behind that ruin over there is where we sort of came in, and we ascended up the everything. and you can get yourself some good Gyosha apparel, which is kind of like the next level of the mage sets. As I've said, all the mage sets get really good defense augmentation bonuses from your spirit stat, so they can end up being extremely good light armor if you're pumping spirit. Oh, Biwa.
Yep, that's the problem.
We definitely do not want to be fighting a revenant around here because there are spiders.
Yeah,
and there is also a big spider. So
it's also a very narrow area. Revenants pretty much as a rule have a lot more stamina than you, and their aggressive AI makes very good use of that. So a revenant right there is serious bad news bears.
Yeah, I don't want none of that. I'm gonna play this game tactical.
Tactical.
No, there's no problem with them that I can solve with a very, very good arrow shot. And you know, they basically put it in a spot where you can get it. Like, if they want you to fight a Revenant, believe you me, they will put it in a spot, that Biwa, in a spot where you can't fucking see it. Or, like, you know, you guys all saw that mission where they put it behind a locked goddamn door.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricks that they use to try to make you fight Revenants. Like, that one was particularly merciful simply because you didn't even have to turn a blind corner slowly. Like sometimes the bloody Biwa is right there, but oof. But you have to turn a blind corner to see it. So by the time you see what the hell is going on, the Revenant's already up.
Yeah, no, he just did not have the forces to even hopefully stop.
No, like defying Oda Nobunaga when he did, particularly in the way he did, was flat suicide. Like it wasn't brave. It wasn't standing up for something. It wasn't anything but suicide by army or suicide by cop, if you want to put it that way. You know,
also,
it was just ridiculous.
The notion that he blew himself up might be incorrect too, but it's like one of the more romanticized versions of him. There's like another version of the story where he smashed the teapot, killed himself, and then demanded his son ensure that his head could not become a trophy, because that was the thing. And so his son, in one of the stories, basically, this is kind of weird. Basically, impaled his dad's head on his sword, and threw himself off a castle wall.
Splat. Honestly, I had never heard that particular story before, so I was half expecting it to turn into basically Sekigahara Gallagher with Oda Nobunaga's forces in the splash zone.
Yeah, does he not care? No, he doesn't. He absolutely does not care. He is living life his own way.
Yeah,
and
he is living a thug life.
Here's our new duds. We're looking a bit more blue now. Okay, so I've also unlocked a new ability. Yep, so I'm just trying to get the motions down for it.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, series of 3 strikes. The final strike being a double strike, so it's more like a 4-hit combo.
Right.
It's really, really good against enemies that have had all their ki taken out. Particularly Yoki. If you've knocked them down, you've hit their horn, you've knocked them down, you've hit them while they're on the ground,
stabbed them, yeah.
Then do that combo, and you'll basically kill them.
Welp. That poor son of a bitch never stood a chance.
Yeah, I was like, I could backstab him, or I could show off how fucking great this attack is.
Good
It's
Lord.
just, like... And you can actually attack it faster than that with it, although there's not as much power behind it. Each one of those swings is charged.
Oh.
Just to further outline how good this attack is.
Yeah. Insult to injury, almost.
Alright, come here, buddy. We got another fragment over there, and I don't want to mess with it. At least not yet. You gotta stay over there. I'm gonna arrow you.
I'm honestly surprised he didn't fall down because you arrowed him in the butthole. I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit generous to them in terms of the arrowing.
我らにもはや勝ち目はない。茶器一つで加盟がつながるのならば、信長に譲り渡せばよいもの。
And for what it's worth, no, nobody really has that great of an idea of why Nobunaga demanded this thing in the first place. You know, Nobunaga.
Because
go ahead.
Nobunaga, I'm gonna say this, always knew how to hit someone right where it fucking hurt.
Yeah.
And if he told Matsunaga Hisahide, kill your son, he'd have fucking done it.
Right.
And laughed and been like, you idiot, I could, I already have a grandson, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, like what do I care about stuff that isn't me? So he hit Hisahide right where he knew Hisahide would actually care. And as you can see, he's like, you're gonna use it as a trophy, to show that you got one over me. I won't allow it. You don't actually appreciate what this thing really is worth, etc., etc. You don't appreciate the true beauty of this tea piece.
Yeah, like it's just the entire thing is so incredibly inscrutable and insane. Like depending on which part of Nobunaga's history you look at, he's either one of the most practical and straightforward people who lived in this particular era, or one of the most arbitrary weirdos. And to reconcile those two is kind of difficult. But most historians that I've spoken to on the subject tend to agree that, the stories where he comes off as ridiculously arbitrary, probably just intentionally censored by his enemies. Who, by the way, one of his primary enemies won the entire Sengoku era. So, official historical record kind of became his.
No. Tokugawa Ieyasu was not an enemy of Oda Nobunaga.
Except for the part where he became a rival and all of that.
No, they were allies. They were allies the whole time.
Am I
and they were allies
Tokugawa
right up until.
I think I'm.
Yep. None of the people who actually were involved in Sekigahara were at any point rivals of
sorry.
Oda Nobunaga.
I'm confusing Tokugawa with bloody hell. His name is escaping me now. But yes, no, you're right. I'm wrong.
Mitsuhide? Yes,
thank you. God bless
Mitsuhide wasn't a rival either, though. To be honest, he was, and we'll actually, because the next major level is about Oda and Akechi.
Yeah.
We will definitely wait until then to talk about Akechi
that
and
is
Mitsuhide.
a story and a half.
Yeah, and the reasoning behind it, because we've got enough weird betraying people here to last a lifetime in this episode.
Anyway, but like my wrongness about that particular aside, there's a lot of people who had access to the official historical record who wanted Nobunaga to be the villain. That is why in a lot of popular culture even today he's frequently depicted as a demon. So making him seem like an arbitrary weirdo really serves their purposes. But in like the historical records that we have, where things are generally fully told, he seems incredibly practical and incredibly straightforward, if outrageously unforgiving.
There are some instances of his behavior that were always very weird too. Like one of the big stories about him, and it might have been actually what changed him. Was when his father died. He caused an absolute scene at his father's funeral, knocking over lanterns, shriek. He carried on so badly that the man who was essentially his mentor and tutor killed himself as an apology to everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
And that might have been what changed Nobunaga.
Deep-seated problems between Nobunaga and his father Nobuhide. That is another thing that's very, very much lost to the mists of time. In that, like Nobuhide had a very particular reputation. It's very consistent, which frequently tends to mean in official records that it was very groomed. And Nobunaga just hated his father for some reason. Nobody's quite sure why.
Well, he wasn't the. Nobunaga also had to sort of fight one of his relatives for ownership of the clan as well. Mm-hmm. And then Mikawa decided it would be a good idea to walk all over this small clan, and well, history got made at that juncture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god! Talk about the biggest fucking mistake in history.
That was
the Mikawa clan at the time were the largest clan, and they were going to do their walk to the capital, which is usually a good sign that they're going to bring an army and basically take over looking after the shogun, so to speak. And they decided on their way they'd just roll over the Oda just to show off, and they were so confident of their victory that instead of properly forming a camp and making sure everything was okay, all the men were just drinking and partying. And so we're completely unprepared when the Oda forces set up a fake camp at night with burning torches to make it and spears propped up to make it seem like there were people there, and then guerrilla rushed the camp and killed the head of the Mikawa clan to the point that he still didn't realize there was an army attacking his camp until he stepped out of his tent, told everyone to stop making so much fucking noise, and was promptly beheaded.
It was hubris.txt, and I love every second of it.
From that point on, Oda Nobunaga's ascension was just unstoppable.
Yeah.
And it took betrayal to end that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I'm going up into the middle of the castle here.
This area is so frickin' complicated.
Yeah, it also throws me a little bit. This is a good way to set up a nice direct path to the boss. If that's not necessary.
Yeah, you're gonna one-shot the boss.
You don't ever need to go back out. But if you feel like you missed a fragment, go for it. Okay, that's it's easy to miss this. This is the prime.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got confused as hell, and you basically had to lead me by the nose to that ladder. 3 bands.
Hey, dude.
It's a Tanuki.
3 bands. You didn't get me this time, you motherfucker. There's no wheels here. Probably would have thrown me down the hole if I hadn't worked. There we go. No sense in killing them.
He's so happy.
I've actually had one of those in, one of the funniest things that happened is an enemy spawned behind me once. Oh, here's an interesting thing. Oka Kunitaka.
You're gonna fight this guy!
Yeah, this guy is not so much the first instance of it. I may have missed somebody else who was doing it, but some revenants, when you kill them, if they're usually sort of the name of of someone who existed in history or something like that, you'll just get a little bit of words from them. Yeah, the Nioh definitely goes with the he exploded himself theory, though, considering all of the holes in the floor and everything.
And also his final monologue there.
Yeah, and also all of the fragments being literally everywhere else in the game world.
Yeah.
Hey, let's put on the last hat. Let's go full Gyosha. There we go.
Not much of a change.
No, the hat doesn't turn bright blue, thankfully.
I'm honestly really sad about that. I wanted to see a bright blue hat. That would have been ridiculous, and I would have loved it.
Yeah, we don't quite get the goofy hats that the rest of them get for a little bit, but we will get some goofy hat later. Some goofy mage hat. I'm just gonna slosh my way up these stairs. It's time for a boss fight, ladies and gentlemen. I think you can probably guess what it is.
No, I couldn't. I haven't been paying attention. I don't understand what the theme of this level is.
What's a boss?
I don't understand.
What?
I don't even understand.
Please enjoy the nightmare fuel. Joro-Gumo. This particular maiden spider is formed out of the remnants of the larger part of the teapot that has not been exploded, having essentially absorbed all the ill will, hatred, and regret that was around it, as well as its own regret at having been destroyed. And it behaves much like the rest of the spiders, as in it will jump and it will lunge and it will try and grab you. But as you can see, it can also go into this weird sort of mode where it protects its abdomen and sort of stalks at you. Later versions of this boss, because we will see this boss a lot more often, will actually have armor on the legs as well, which will lessen the attacks you can do, making you have to fight its head a lot more often.
I've never seen the other portions of, or the other versions of this boss, and that sounds horrifying.
Yeah, she also spits out pockets of webbing, which will slow you down when you stand on them, which can throw you off. She's a real fun fight, honestly. She's actually one of my favorites.
Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Good call.
It's dog time.
It's double doggo, girl!
And there we go. It's a fun fight. I quite like it. Just gonna... all this stuff around here can sometimes drop stuff, so I'm just smashing it.
I swear to God. Why indeed? I agree. I agree with this pose.
Who are you?
ほう、とつくに見たよ。主も見える口か。平雲の茶釜、久方ぶりよ。一服立てて死んぜよ。茶もわからぬか。まあよい。お主に今日が湧いたわ。この茶室好きに使うがよい。主君をあやめ、将軍をあやめ、大仏を焼き、山岳を成したと信長に言わしめたこのわしが、主ごときに見えると思うたか。わしのことは男女とでも呼ぶがよい。
And with that, we get Itakuri,
Oh,
the
shit,
guardian
boy.
spirit. No, this. And I bet you, you probably all weren't thinking, oh, we're actually gonna be starting to hang out with Ghost Danjo. But yes, Ghost Danjo is now a part of the team.
Yep.
He runs the tea house, which I have mentioned before in some videos about how our online interactions are primarily through the tea house. And we'll be showing it in a moment, just showing the meat and potatoes of it. The old man is a little happy with us. His set is called the Fanatic set, by the way.
That's appropriate.
Yes. Let's go to the tea house. Eventually.
Seriously, I was just like, it's not like you to sit at the menu here for a while.
I was being slow about it. So yes. The primary thing about the tea house is there's this thing called the battles. Basically, when you get the tea house, you assign yourself to a clan, and every week the game shuffles the clans up into equal sides, and it counts overall the glory that is acquired over the course of this time. And so you acquire glory through multiplayer, through killing revenants, and through donating items of particular interest to Danjo. And the items that you donate tend to be dependent on the clan you're in. And each clan gives its own specific bonuses on top of that. And then when your clan wins, you get a bonus for overall victory, and then a bonus in proportion to the amount of glory. Like, and it's all glory. You get glory. It's basically you're spending glory. You're getting glory in the tea house, and it is proportional to your position in it. And of course, the more people that are in a particular clan, the less you get for your contributions. And in this particular case, I'm in. This is pretty funny to say. I'm in the Kuroda clan because they get a bonus to Odachis.
Yup. I was gonna say it's gotta have that be an Odachi thing.
And I think they've got another effect as well, which I always forget. But we'll be seeing those in a moment because I'm going to flick through and just show everyone all the clans. There's quite a lot of them, so you'll very easily find a clan that's to your liking. And you can switch between them as you prefer. The clan is the same for all of your accounts. So if you're doing a new run through with a particular weapon and the bonuses don't match, you'll want to come to the tea house. When you first unlock the tea house, it's pretty much there from the start for all subsequent runs as well. So there's no problem with that. And things you buy at the tea house are pretty interesting. You can buy items. In fact, the easiest way to get the rarer crafting items from, like, that normally would fall off of, like, bosses and things like that, you can get from the tea house, which makes crafting a lot of, like, different gears and weapons and things like that a lot easier, and so I definitely recommend it for that. You can also get special gestures and things like that, and also probably the funniest one of all of it is that you can also get this thing called transformation, which allows you to become an NPC.
Yup.
The game lets you, when you finally encounter an NPC, the game lets you take on the form of that NPC if you pay glory to unlock them, and then transform through the menu here. It will not change what William looks like in cutscenes. It'll immediately remove that glamour from you. So we're gonna take a look here at the different clans we've got. So as you can see,
you can't run around as frickin' Hanzo or Tomei or some nonsense like that while you're in the actual level.
Yeah, I recommend pausing it if you see a clan you want to look at. As you can see, there's lots of different kinds of things, and also what the rewards you get. The daily special reward changes on the day, and what is required to be donated is different each time, whereas the special reward pretty much stays that way, but does reset on a week-to-week basis. So, you know, it's pretty cool. And, yes, you can be in the Matsunaga clan. Oh,
because why not, I suppose.
Why would you do that to yourself? The Date clan and the Oda clan, I think, are probably the two most popular ones, and that's hardly a surprise.
Yeah, I think
you can sort of see.
There was. I ended up in the Ryozu clan because they gave me axe damage.
Yeah, Furuto is actually pretty popular too. Todo too. Some are chosen because they're cool. Some are chosen because they are they are good bonuses.
Yup.
Yeah. It's like it's pretty. You have a lot of options, so a lot of character builds can be further augmented by some of these, and that's really nice. And obviously, you can just choose to defect and not be a part of one, which is kind of weird, but whatever. You do.
I mean, if you want to be your own person at the cost of benefits to yourself, I mean, weird. I suppose you can plant that particular flag if you like.
Yeah, and this is the donation screen. You can donate anything, but you will only get the special rewards from highlighting and donating these specific things. And as you can see, it fills the meter up, and the hand cannons, because I tend to not use them, the Kuroda works even better for me because I'll always get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, some weeks some days it's axe, some days it's longbow, sometimes it's a very specific spear, which is always really weird. And these are the things you can buy. Well, a lot of these items you probably haven't seen. Mud jar. That's not mud.
That's not mud.
That's not mud. And yeah, you can see we've got a lot of different things like anima stones. We won't even be seeing use for those for a very long time. And since I've unlocked all the characters that are possibly unlocked at this point on the thing, they don't show up on the trading menu.
It's just Just soaking in how much glory you have over there, by the way.
I have been playing this game a long time.
Just about 500,000 glory. You might have noticed that, but for killing one Revenant in the last level, he got 32 glory. This motherfucker over here has almost 500,000 glory. Just do the math, alright?
See, and this is what it looks like when you buy it, and it's just a random one. That's a pretty cool one. It's not actually better than the Adachi we got, as I realized when I go back to the menu, but that's fine.
I love how expressive he is.
Oh yeah. Hisahide has a lot of funny expressions. Like when he gets quite pleased with you when you win your battles, and gets quite annoyed with you when you don't. Anyway, that's it for this one. Here's the list of all the characters. As you can see, there are some that we've seen in a few cutscenes and some we haven't encountered yet. Don't worry about it. Until then, I've been the Last Robo Kai.
And I have been Cool Guy.
See you all next time.